line from Southern California as well. I'm going to turn it back on over to you, Dick and Jennifer, and I'm going to try to get more information here, and as I do, I'll pass it along to you.
Thank you, Dan. In addition to the apartment fatalities that Dan has confirmed, there was the first confirmed fatality was on the Bay Bridge itself in a crushed automobile. So we do know that someone lost their lives there.
And just to repeat what Dan said, not only did an upper level section of the bridge collapse, but also a lower level fell into the water in the bay. So
and it's going to be perhaps weeks before the bridge is back in operation. It's humbling to think that at 7 points on the Richter scale, this is probably not the big one that everybody's been talking about for years and years. And that this may be nothing but a very brutal reminder of what the big one eventually may mean for us. Again, it might be worthwhile to share this. The earthquake centers in Golden, Colorado and Alaska measuring the quake at 6.9, placing the epicenter 60 miles southeast of San Francisco. We just heard also that they placed it in the Santa Cruz Mountain. UC Berkeley puts the temblor at 7 on the Richter scale. Caltech puts the epicenter at 10 miles north of Santa Cruz, right on the San Andreas Fault. Peg Malloy, a spokeswoman for the Federal Emergency Management Agency, says that officials in Washington are all returning to their office tonight, trying to figure out what aid and what system of management needs to be sent here. This is another view, a longer view, that shows some of the collapse on the Bay Bridge.
And also, and this is the fire in the Marina District, but there is damage outside of San Francisco. We've really been concentrating on what's happening in San Francisco. In San Jose, a shopping mall collapsed. Rescuers are digging frantically, looking for anyone who may have been trapped in the rubble. We do not know if anyone was trapped in the rubble, but there are people looking through at this point. Also, we know that the big quake was felt here in Sacramento. No major damage to report in our area of California, but the long rolling motion did send some water flying from swimming pools, and we have some video of that we're going to be showing you in just a bit. But right now, those were more pictures from the San Francisco International Airport.
We've been, doing this for 2 straight hours now, shy a couple of minutes. It was only about almost 2 hours ago, shy 2 minutes, that we sat here in the first commercial break in our newscast, and this whole studio started to shake, rattle, and roll. And I'm still curious about why they report the main shock in San Francisco lasting only 15 seconds when we clearly felt it here for a full minute. I don't know if that's typical of the outer reaches of a big shock like that, the rumbling lasts for a longer time, but we clearly were shaking in this studio for quite a while.
There were apparently 2 aftershocks to the main quake also, and I did not feel either of those, and I don't know if they were felt in the Sacramento area or not.
No, and it's typical for a number of aftershocks to continue for hours and even days after the main shock, so there could be more to come on this as well. Well,
once again, we want to remind people, please try and stay off the telephone. Do not try to call into San Francisco. We know that you may have loved ones, friends, family there, but the Office of Emergency Services is asking everyone to please try and stay off the telephone because they really need whatever available lines there are. It is dark now there, and that is just compounding the problems, trying to get to the people who may have been hurt, to get to the areas that are damaged.
Dark, Jennifer, and there are massive power outages. There's PG&E has reported that virtually all of its major sources of power to San Francisco are down and out. Power has been turned off because of the danger elsewhere. People are being asked to shut off their gas, to take all the emergency procedures that attend to an earthquake of this magnitude. And as darkness falls on the city, there are going to be even more problems.
We did have some pictures in Sacramento. Are those ready yet? Let me just ask real quickly. No, they're not.
Okay.
So we can repeat some of the other information that that Dan Adams mentioned in our last contact with him. He said that the red and white ferry group is now ferrying people out of San Francisco to the East Bay for people who are trying to get out, and they're doing that for free. A lot of people are pitching in this time of need. Also, just to reiterate, the one confirmed fatality when the Bay Bridge, one section of it collapsed.
And Dan confirmed additional fatalities in the collapse of an apartment building in San Francisco as well. Okay. Probable fatalities at that huge shopping mall in San Jose, which has collapsed, and they are digging through the rubble now trying to find out who was in there. The only thing I can hope for is everybody was trying to be in front of a TV set to watch the game and weren't in there.
And also the Coast Guard is out searching underneath the Bay Bridge for any people who may have gone into the water. We do not know for sure that that happened, but they are searching.
More reports and pictures coming up, but right now we'll take a quick break.
On the Point.
Do you think they'll take our offer?
Well, what's our best selling point?
Sacramento?
I think we've reached the point of no return.
So how did we do?
Well, when a client doesn't ask questions and sleeps during the slide presentation, don't you think that's a bad sign?
I see your point.
The Point, 100.5 FM.
Every now and then, Honda finds a way to improve the four-door Accord. I know, you don't believe it's possible. Well, they have. The 1990 Honda four-door Accords are all new, inside and out. They're larger, too. Still don't believe me? Well, I suppose you can prove it to yourself when you come on in and test drive one. But be careful, you might want to keep it.
If you could live inside someone suffering from depression, you'd understand the sadness,
What's wrong with me?
the complete exhaustion,
Just so tired.
the loneliness,
No one understands.
and you'd know that inside,
I can't take any more.
she's desperately crying for help. To help someone with an emotional problem or for information on free upcoming workshops, call Charter Counseling Centers. If you don't get help at Charter, please get help somewhere.
My husband and I love coming to Long John Silver's.
Hi, Amy Bucko.
Sometimes he calls me that.
I do.
Because at Long John Silver's, you...
Did you order salad?
We are receiving more information on injuries and fatalities. To report to you, in the big earthquake, 6 people have been crushed to death in their cars after part of an old 4-story brick building collapsed onto their vehicles on Bluxom Street in San Francisco. This information coming from the police department. The building housed a company known as Major Legal Services. The identities of the victims are not known at this time. Rescue workers are still trying to get the bodies out of the vehicles. Again, 6 people have been crushed to death.
It'll be a long time before we know the total impact of this disaster in the Bay Area and not only San Francisco but in the outlying regions. Perhaps we can learn more now as we go to the Department of Emergency Services here in Sacramento, where our Tom Marshall is standing by. Tom?
Well, Dick and Jennifer, the folks here are gearing up for what they believe to be a major disaster. They have not yet had any formal request or a formal declaration of a state of emergency at this point. Governor Deukmejian is in West Germany. He was awakened at about 2:30 their time this morning and told of the situation. Also, the lieutenant governor has been apprised of the situation. We do not know right now whether the governor will be coming back here or not. Details have been very sketchy here because the phone lines have been so bad. There are communications problems, as you've been reporting to the Bay Area. We just had a media briefing from one of the people here, Nancy Hardiger, and she updates us on the latest information they have.
We're gearing up to respond to any requests from local jurisdictions. I am not aware of any of the requests that have come in so far, but we have mobilized individuals from various state agencies to react when the requests do come in, and also to assess the damage along with the local jurisdictions.
What kind of help would you be providing? Can you tell us what you'd be expecting to do?
The National Guard could provide mass care, helicopters. The Conservation Corps can provide labor. There's a number of different things that could be provided. What is needed at this point, we're not sure, and that's what we're looking into.
Have you flown in anybody from the National Guard to that area yet? What is going on right now?
I'm not aware of any flights into the area right now.
So at this point, they're standing by awaiting word, which they expect any moment from some of the cities and other local officials in the Bay Area. There are several areas that have been hit by this quake, and they're still getting reports of other areas. They're starting to hear now reports of buildings collapsing in San Jose, for instance. We know that at least 8 fire crews from CDF and OES are on standby to help battle the blazes, which are already raging in the Marina area of San Francisco. It's very sketchy, but that's the information we have here. There are a lot of people at work out here right now in the operations center, Dick and Jennifer, and mainly they are on the phone now trying to coordinate with other disaster agencies and with the people in the Bay Area that they can't talk to find out just exactly what is needed.
Yeah. The picture is sketching itself out as time goes by. We understand now that there are a number of fires burning in Oakland and the East Bay, some involvement, I'm not sure what, involving the Caldecott Tunnel. In Santa Clara County, additional problems that are natural to this?
And also fires burning in Berkeley, and apparently a problem with a hazardous spill in Santa Clara County. So we'll be following up on that and trying to get more information. Meantime, President Bush has been apprised of the situation, and he talked to reporters about the earthquake after he learned of it this evening.
John called the governor's office and got some information there. The governor's out of the country, but we're beginning to get a lot of information in here, and obviously the federal government will do everything that possibly can to help, but at this point we're just assessing. You've got the latest report.
Just, the governor's office said they had some information on some scattered fires. No confirmation exactly what the specific damage to the bridge was, although there is some damage that has warranted the closing of the bridge. There seems to be power out at the airport in some of the major components of the airport. So the airport is either operating at a very low level or shut down. It may be shut down.
You may want this delayed. They just handed me a report if you want to take a look at that. Well, I don't know about tonight, but the team will be operating, working here to see how we can assist.
Nothing different than what...
Now, that was recorded a bit earlier. Since then, Mr. Bush has dispatched his Transportation Secretary, Samuel Skinner, to California, and he's probably on his way now here to try and assess the damage in the Bay Area.
As we've mentioned several times, we felt the quake quite strongly and for quite a long period of time in Sacramento, but we understand there is no major damage to report. The long rolling motion did send water flying from this pool on Sutterville Road. By the end, the water level had dropped 4 inches.
And the kids came running out of the backyard screaming that the water was coming out of the pool and to come and look, and we ran back to the backyard and looked like a little tidal wave.
The water just kept on going and then it floated all over the place.
How high was the water?
It was about, it was kind of like this, and it was going all over, and it was like the water was hitting the fences and the wall.
So, Dick, we weren't the only ones here in the studio to feel the earthquake in Sacramento. We also want to point out that Governor Duke Majan's press secretary now confirms that the governor will cut short his visit to Germany. He's going to be returning to California as soon as flight arrangements can be made. In the meantime, Lieutenant Governor Leo McCarthy is in the state, and he is acting as a capacity of acting governor until Governor Duke Majan can return.
The governor's been in Frankfurt to open the California Trade Office, for which he had high hopes. Now the earthquake is on his mind, as it is ours. And we go back to Candlestick Park in the dark, where our Dan Adams has been all afternoon. Dan?
Dick, you say in the dark, and you can't understand this. Anybody who is familiar with the Bay Area and has ever seen San Francisco, it is perhaps the most awesome sight I've ever seen of San Francisco. I just walked around Candlestick Park, so I had a view of the complete area of the skyline of San Francisco, with the exception of some beacons on the tops of radio and TV transmitting towers, and with the exception of a few headlights that you see from cars, and with the exception of flames that you see from buildings burning, there is no light at all in San Francisco. Never have I seen anything like that before. It's a very awesome scene. Here at Candlestick Park, a few emergency generators are providing electricity in emergency exit areas, and a bus has just pulled up here, but we're in pitch dark here as well, and as we look out over the entire Bay Area, there is no light to be seen here except for those few exceptions that I just told you about with the beacons. In fact, a very awesome scene. The brightest light in the sky is the light that's being given off by the Goodyear blimp right now that is hovering over San Francisco. So quite an incredible sight here, I have to tell you. The latest information that we have now on the Cypress structure on Highway 880, which is the approach toward the Bay Bridge now, they are saying that a quarter mile of the double-deck section of the bridge has collapsed. A number of cars unfortunately are underneath that bridge, and of course rescue workers are there right now trying to get them out. An urgent call has been put out to all emergency medical personnel, doctors, nurses, medical technicians, to report to work immediately. There are unconfirmed reports of sections of hospitals that have collapsed, and again, with the information just starting to come out right now, much of this is unconfirmed. I just heard a report on one of the local radio stations here that a section of the Ambac Hotel in Burlingame, the top 2 floors there, have not collapsed, but in essence peeled away. And
yeah, actually, we saw pictures of that earlier, Dan, yeah.
The eyewitness says that the elevator shaft is basically just exposed now to the outdoors there. the pictures that we continue seeing from some of the local television stations here, and I'm looking at a station right now from south of here out of Monterey, a number of fires burning in that area.